All right, so everybody listening, if you're listening to us on YouTube or one of the podcasting sites, we thank you so much. Please like, subscribe, and share this interview. If you're listening to us on one of the radio stations that does carry this podcast from time to time, we appreciate that. We have a special guest. She's the president and CEO of BraveHearts. It opened back in 2002. It's Meggan Hill-McQueeney, and she is a lot of things. We're going to go down the list of a little bit. I don't know if we're going to get through all this in this interview, but we're going to try. She's a lifelong equestrian. She is a PATH International Master Level Instructor, a Special Olympics coach, a Paralympic coach, and a PATH evaluator. It's braveheartsriding.org. Again, braveheartsriding.org. And on Facebook and Instagram, it's Brave Hearts Riding. Meggan, thanks so much for coming on the program. Greatly appreciate it today.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
And as we go into this interview, for people that don't know much about Brave Hearts, we just spoke about that it's starting back in 2002. Can you talk a little bit about the organization and how it got started?
Yeah, the organization started in 2002, as you said, by a woman by the name of Marge Gunner, and she was battling ovarian cancer, and she had boarded her horse, a Lipizzan stallion by the name of Max, at a horse farm in Harvard, Illinois, and she was a statistical miracle, made it through surviving ovarian cancer, and was faced with the dilemma, why am I here? What am I going to do with the rest of my life? And she just really felt it was, a divine, calling that she just wanted to do something at that farm with horses. And her initial concept, Rob, was to work with children with various diagnoses in horses at that farm. And so she began to rent the farm one day a week on Saturday mornings, and started a program called BraveHearts. And it was specifically for children with various special needs, and was really struggling with it, keeping it going and making it work, and all that goes into the front end of putting together a nonprofit. And one of her colleagues that she had spent most of her working career, she retired when she had gotten the diagnosis of cancer. But while she was working, she worked in the medical field and worked for a cardiologist by the name of Dr. Rolf Gunner. And he was a Korean War medic on the front lines. And she invited him to come out to Harvard, Illinois, to see what she was doing and how she wanted to help kids. And he was completely smitten with the idea. He thought it was fabulous. But he really wanted to add more to this concept, this idea. And he really felt himself being a veteran and how much he thought the farm was so therapeutic, and his time, his interactions with the horses, he really wanted to share that with other veterans. So he came on her board of directors, and Marge recognizes Dr. Gunner as a co-founder, and he really was the visionary that had the idea of integrating veterans to work with horses at the farms. And he began to pave the way for VA hospitals all throughout Chicago to bus in veterans to BraveHearts, for veterans to get time with the horses at our farm.
So I know you worked, I know you worked a little bit in college with horses back in Colorado. Talk a little bit about yourself and how I should say your journey with horses started.
Yeah, I am a congenital amputee. I was born without my right arm. I've been riding horses my whole life. And right after college, I was introduced to a family that had a little boy with Down syndrome. And he was non-ambulatory and non-verbal. He wasn't speaking, he wasn't walking yet. And they really just wanted to borrow a horse and me to help with getting their son on a horse. And the first time that he rode, he signed horse, which his mom was very emotional, and the family was just really taken with that. The second time he rode, he started to take his first steps. And so I was just like, wow, what is this? I mean, I had always been around horses. I had always loved horses, But I had no idea of the therapeutic value that they could offer children. And so had spoken to a client of mine who I rode and trained their horses, and told them this, what had happened with this little boy. And they basically said, here's $5,000 and here's access to our attorneys. And why don't you go start a camp to help? That was what they said. Start a camp like what you're doing with that little guy, and see if you could help more children. And so started a program from the ground up in Colorado with their help. And then we duplicated another program in Illinois. And these programs were specifically, Rob, for kids with various diagnoses, kids with on the spectrum for autism, with cerebral palsy, with Down syndrome, with sensory integration, just any multitude of diagnoses. We really saw the horses were extremely beneficial just for helping kids, meet their developmental milestones, learning to talk and walk, and just really saw the power of the horses and what they could do. And then I got invited out to BraveHearts to go judge one of their horse shows for veterans. And this was about I'm going to say maybe in about 2006, I think I went out to watch and judge one of their first veteran horse shows, and was just really moved. I'd been working with children for, probably at that point about, probably 15 years. And I had never thought about how horses could potentially help veterans. And so once again was, just really moved by how much horses have the capacity to do. They're just awesome animals in so many ways.
So let's jump into this question, since you kind of brought it up with the kids and how they're coming out of their shells, and you saw that firsthand throughout your time working with children. So, we'll kind of put these 2 and 2 together to equal 4, whether it's the kids or the veterans. What do you feel like it is that makes these people in general come out of their shells and really achieve greatness through their struggle, through whatever disability it might be?
Well, what I've been able to see is how the horses are the common denominator. The horses are, a runway for people wherever they're at in their lives to just take off and get things kickstarted. I have been able to see how horses have helped individuals with physical, cognitive, emotional, even, spiritual challenges. Horses just have a multitude of attributes that they lend to us who get to spend time with them, where I just seen so many people find, unlimited potential from the horses. And I can go on and on about all they offer, but it's really, what I've been able to experience in my career is I give all credit to these horses. If you rattled off a diagnosis, I could tell you a way that a horse can help that person. They are just so special with how they are designed, how horses they've been around for millions of years, and they're a very wise prey animal. And I had always, in my early career, had always just been so blessed to get to watch, kids, let's say with low tone, learn how to have posture, be able to have speech production, whether they're tight from cerebral palsy, see the warmth of the horse's body, even just help reduce spasticity through their legs, the motion of the pelvis and how that duplicates walk. I had gotten to see all of this incredible work of horses, but then enter veterans. And I had known that horses were phenomenal, with working with children in various diagnoses. But when I stepped in to get to spend time with veterans, and I began to hear veterans say, hey, I might not be here if it wasn't for this horse. I might not be alive if it wasn't for this farm and that my time with the horses. It made me start to realize, like, whoa, there's like a whole nother level of healing and of help that the horses can do. And I really that's really where I wanted to dedicate a lot of my time, because I thought, like, it's powerful what horses can do with people with various diagnoses. But when you start to think about how horses can potentially give people their lives back, to me, that was a whole nother level of healing that I was just completely in awe of. And I had never thought about the horses like that. Honestly, from my standpoint, being an amputee, missing my right arm, and growing up with horses, I took horses for granted. I never gave them the credit they were due until I started to see all that they were doing for children. And then I started to see all that now I see what they do for veterans. And I'm just completely in awe of how they step in and help people every single day at our farms in a multitude of ways. They're just truly game changers.
Well, Meggan, I think we can agree that these horses, animals in general, do have a sixth sense where they can know by people's voices, it's almost like they can sniff it right out of us, whether you're a good person, you're a bad person, whether you love animals or not, or whether you're having a bad day or not, and they can try to work their own magic in whatever godly way they do and help us have a better day and a better life in general. I don't think that's far-fetched. I don't think that's one flew over the cuckoo's nest type of deal. I think that's factually correct. But if we're going to move on, unless you have something to add quickly.
No, I couldn't agree with you more on that. It was the sixth sense. And I think that it's becoming a more acceptable means of treatment. A lot of times, when I first started at BraveHearts, it was so out of the box, it was so non-conventional. It was so different. But, now it's, when I first started BraveHearts, people came to the farms because they would say nothing else worked. And now I'm so glad that people are recognizing, what equine-assisted activities and services can do, and starting to integrate that with, VA hospitals, with hospice, with mental health wellness, whether it's veterans or civilians, children's or adults, it works. And the evidence is, all over our farms. You can walk around them for 5 minutes, Rob, and you can have pretty much everyone you're going to run into that's going to tell you like these horses are awesome.
Meggan Hill-McQueeney, again, BraveHearts. It's braveheartsriding.org. Definitely check it out. Also on Facebook and Instagram, same thing, BraveHearts Riding. Check it out for sure. If you know somebody that is having issue, whether it's a veteran, child, whoever it may be, just shoot an email over there, and I'm sure they can find some way to help you in general. I do want to move on into PTSD. Everybody hears these letters, PTSD. They think they know what they are, but they really don't. Can you talk to the audience about what PTSD really stands for? Because you deal with a lot of people that struggle with this issue as far as veterans daily.
Yeah. PTSD stands for post-traumatic stress disorder. And in the years past, a lot of the industry wants to drop the disorder and just recognize it as PTS, or post-traumatic syndrome. And basically it comes from trauma, which is integrated deeply into layers of your brain, which integrates with the rest of your body. And it is very difficult to undo, when that deep work hits your brain. It's very difficult to undo that. How the horses, what I see at our farms, and there's many different ways that one can go about trying to treat PTS, and each person has their own individual story as far as what works or what doesn't work. There's, from hospital treatments, inpatient to outpatient, to conventional to non-conventional. The biggest thing that I have gained in my time with working with individuals with PTS is trauma is caused typically by other humans. Trauma is something that when we work at BraveHearts, we're letting the horses do the work. So this is not trying to be treated from another human. And to put it simply, oftentimes in a traditional therapy session, one-on-one, perhaps, might be working through that with another human. And so when we put, say, for example, a veteran in the round pen with a horse, It's that veteran and that horse. And one of the biggest inroads that horses require is trust. Right. When working with a horse, horses will not trust you unless you trust them first. And that's something that is one of the most essential ways of working through PTS. And it's one of the most experiential ways with working with a horse that you're going to be required to earn that horse's trust. And a lot of individuals who deal with PTS, not only do they not trust other people, they may not even trust themselves. And so that is a beautiful, powerful experience time in a round pen with the horse, because that horse gives instant biofeedback to that person, whether or not they are trustworthy. Just like you said earlier, Rob, by how we breathe, by how fast our heart is going, by how we carry ourselves. Horses, like you said, almost have a sixth sense because they're so brilliant. Horses are being prey animals at reading intention, that they read it before we even know we have maybe anxiety. And so what we do is we work with people on how to becoming mindful, working on your breathing in the round pen. Even horses can even smell and sync their heart rate with yours. So if your heart is going quickly in the round pen, that horse is going to start moving quickly, and it instantly tells the truth, whether or not we might think we can hide it. Maybe I can tell you, oh, I'm fine today, I feel great. But the reality is the horse is going to be the litmus test. He is going to tell the truth on it all.
Yeah, I didn't know about the heart rate thing. That's very impressive. But again, we don't even know half of it. We try to learn, Meggan, but we don't know even half of what these guys and girls are going through as far as that. Because I want to go into this. You've helped a lot of people, whether it's been children's through the camps that you've ran, or also at BraveHearts in general. Can you give the audience at least one story of a particular individual that you've helped, and this has really created a huge impact on their life?
It's always hard to just pick one. Do you want a child? Do you want an adult? Do you want a veteran?
Yeah, let's go with a veteran, since that's where you are now, I guess.
Yeah, no, on any given day, just today, I think I've been hit with 3 stories. But one of my favorite stories is an individual who came to us and was really struggling with substance abuse, was really struggling with suicide attempts, and had been inpatient. And that program came to BraveHearts, brought a group of veterans out. And so that individual that veteran was exposed to our wild Mustangs. We have a wild Mustang program at BraveHearts, again, just because they're so brilliant, those natural instincts at reading intention, like we talked about. And so they got to come out and they got to spend some time with the horse. Fast forward to the inpatient program leaves. They return to their home, which is in a different part of the country. They go back to traditional treatments. It doesn't work. They migrate to our farms. They disappeared from the rest of their life, and their family gave us a call and said, hey, they might be headed up to your farm because that person kept telling our family how nothing else worked and they wanted to be close to the horses. Well, they showed up, and we really wanted to get them close to the horses and to spend as much time with the horses. And so that individual ended up spending every day at our farms, got themselves sober, got themselves cleaned up, got their, PTS where it was, somewhat manageable, where they could start to integrate into life, and ended up becoming a certified instructor for us. Wow. And about a year and a half later, fast forwarded through the program, and I got to watch that individual stand in the arena with about 6 guys horseback that were veterans who came off the same bus that he came on when he first started. And I remember he lined them all up in the arena, and I remember standing behind him, and he said, after he finished his lesson time and working with them and the horses, and he said, gentlemen, I just want to tell you what a great job you did tonight. And I know I know you're struggling right now. And when I say, I know you're struggling and I know where you're coming from, it's because I came off that bus 19 months ago. So like, there's hope, and hang on to your horses, and hang on to what you can find that works for you. And he's like, all I can tell you is these horses were what did it for me. And they were the catalyst to get my life head in the right direction. And that individual is very involved, continues to be with our organization. And he's just such a great mentor and teacher to me, as far as, probably being one of our most challenging situations that we had been faced with at BraveHearts, just when he first came in, at how he was and who he was, and just seeing a complete transformation, and being one of the smartest, most talented, most kindest, most compassionate people who genuinely cares about veterans and is constantly helping me understand veterans better. And one of the messages that he taught me loud and clear is, I think that a lot of us that work around veterans, we want to go 99%, but the reality is it's got to be 50-50. And the veteran, as well as the individuals who are trying to help veterans, they have to work equally at it, and neither side can do more than the other for it to really work. And so it's just been such a blessing having him in our lives. And I'll tell you, the statistic, of the suicide rate is staggering. And to think about not having someone like him in this world, like, breaks my heart, because they are so worth everything we can do for these people.
Well, in general, these guys have fought their whole lives for us, whether it's been here in the U.S. or it's been around the world. And I think that we need to all think about that and try to help these people. And I want to get into the last few questions. Again, for people listening, Meggan Hill-McQueeney, it is braveheartsriding.org. Facebook, Instagram, same thing, Bravehearts Riding. Definitely check it out. If you can give a couple of bucks, I know we're on hard times as economics right now. I know I don't like to do that, but if you can give a couple of bucks, it's a good organization and worthwhile to give away money. I know it's hard times for everybody right now, but let's continue on to the last three questions of the interview. This was an audience question we did get from a couple of people that listen in quite frequently, but people that don't ride or haven't ridden a horse in general previous to this conversation. What advice would you give to these first timers or people that are just not really good on a horse in general, of how to not be afraid to ride a horse?
Yeah, great questions. First of all, if you're listening to this and you want to hook a veteran up with a horse program, we have a database at BraveHearts, so we can connect people from all across the country to accredited programs like BraveHearts, and that's always a great place to start. Is to get yourself connected with an accredited program. We also have a transportation grant. So if veterans are in crisis and they need to get plugged in with our program, particularly at BraveHearts, then we make that accommodation as well. So like you said earlier, everything we do for our vets is at no cost. And so we're happy to help your listeners get connected with a program like ours. Your question, though, about horses and about how to handle the anxiety or the angst or the
like
nerves.
you said, no, sorry to interrupt, Meggan, but like you said, these horses can sense that you're not comfortable on the horse, so you have to be careful too. So
yeah,
I'll let you run with this right now. But
absolutely, yeah. And we have about 48 extraordinary therapy horses, and they are really good at their jobs, and that's part of our accreditation process and whatnot, and why we've been able to be so successful. Again, I attribute to, I wouldn't trade any horse in our herd for any Kentucky Derby winner. They're that good, to tell you the truth. So super proud of the herd that we have there. But a couple of tips, for people who are starting out. First of all, visualization, even before you drive to the barn or you drive to the program, even just trying to think through a positive situation, just trying to think through that in your mind and painting that very clear picture of how it's going to be, how it's going to look in a positive fashion. We do a lot with our students too, to teach a lot about scripting, which is basically your inner voice. It's the most powerful voice you'll ever have in your whole life. A lot of times it comes from our maternal influence, but that voice of what's talking to you on a daily basis is a really powerful tool. And what we try to work with is, again, creating a positive message that you're sending yourselves, about a 2 to 3 word key phrase or mantra that you can repeat that's a positive phrase. Something like, I got this, or just breathe, or whatever you need to, again, tell yourself over and over to take you to that good, positive place. Third would be rituals. We're really big into the rituals at BraveHearts. Rituals are part of our grounding means to take us to a mindful place. Rituals are typically with our horses, how we groom our horses. We put a saddle pad on, we put the saddle on, we bridle them, we might walk them in the arena. All of those rituals that happen in the same fashion each time are not only comforting for us as people, but also to horses who like to have consistency. And so those just are 3 real easy tips. You know, the visualization, the scripting, and then the rituals are really great tools that we integrate with the horses. But what's so awesome about horses is that they teach us life lessons, because what you learn in our arenas or in our round pens with our horses are lessons that you're going to take home and use, you know, at home and with your families and in your relationships and in your workplaces, and just in, you know, how to handle so much that's coming at us in this world. You know, the gentleness of our therapy horses, you know, gentleness means power under control. And it's something that I see that probably is a world we need a whole lot more of, is gentleness around us. And it's something I see our therapy horses, you know, they display the patience, the honesty, the gentleness every single day.
Yeah, and I'm grateful that you told people that. I know a lot of people were asking that question, as I stated just a minute ago. Let's leave the people that are listening with a little bit of hope. There's a lot of tragedy in our country and around the world today. We don't have to get into that, and we won't get into that. Otherwise, we'll be here for 25 different hours as far as different conversations with that. But regardless of that, can you leave the audience with some hope as we end our conversation today?
Absolutely. You know, I think that nature, you know, getting outside, getting fresh air, you know, obviously I'm a big proponent of horses. What I see that horses do is they get people out of their homes or their workplaces, or maybe their situations that maybe that's where trauma did occur, or maybe that's where they are triggered in. And the barn in our community, it's a community, you know, it's a place to connect with nature, with horses who are living, breathing creatures who are, as you mentioned earlier, they have a sense that they want to help. And again, you know, our horses are carefully selected, they're trained, they're prepared, they're very much skilled at their jobs. And so I would just offer your listeners, you know, please feel free to contact us at braveheartsriding.org, email us, call our offices. We can connect them with a program, whether it's BraveHearts or another one like ours, but give horses a chance. Don't give up. Horses have so much to offer, as you said, through hope, joy, unlimited possibilities. It's all right there waiting for you in a barn, I promise you.
Again, braveheartsriding.org. You stated a little bit just now of how people can help. What is the most help you need as far as that, so you can tell the listeners that issue? And also, what's the best way for them to help? Is there like a PayPal? Is there like a Cash App thing? Or, you know, what's the best way for them to play this out if they do want to donate a couple bucks or volunteer, whatever it may be?
Yeah, absolutely. The biggest way that you can help, you know, in general,
Sure.
everyone around you, is if you know a veteran, you know, talk to them, you know, see what they need or how you can help them. And you know, mention horses. That's a great call to action that we ask for people. You know, nowadays with these staggering suicide rates coming in, you know, even if you think somebody's doing okay, check in on them. And like I said, you know, you can always call our farms and get more information on our program or one that's near you. for your listeners across the country. Secondly, if you're looking to give, you can check out our website. There's all kinds of mechanisms on there to give. Now you can do it electronically. You can give monthly. Some of our donors love to set up a monthly campaign, which is awesome. As I mentioned, everything we do for all of our veterans is at no cost. And then lastly, give of your time. To volunteer at a center like ours means the world. We have people who do so much around our farms. And even for people that, might not be comfortable with horses, we've got people that are helping with administratively and fundraising and all kinds of capacities. And the same thing goes for volunteers. If you're looking to volunteer and maybe you're not in Illinois, we're happy to connect you with another program like BraveHearts across the country.
And there's a lot of stuff you can do, as you stated, Meggan, virtually, regardless if you're with BraveHearts or another organization. Again, you can figure out a way to give back and do this.
Yeah, and it's awesome because we have about 500 volunteers at our programs, at our horse farms, and I'll tell you that they'll tell you that it's as therapeutic for them as it is for the people that they're working for. So just getting out and walking and being out connected with a healthy community and with these horses, I'm telling you, is something that'll touch your heart deeply.
Yeah, it's definitely, we need to give back as a society, as a country. Again, Meggan Hill-McQueeney here on Fire Breathing Rob. It's braveheartsriding.org, and then Bravehearts Riding on Facebook and Instagram. Definitely check them out. Again, if you can give some money, you can. If you can't, then volunteer in a different way. It's always nice to give back to the community in general. Meggan, I hope we can have you on again. I know we're out of time. There's a lot of stuff that you've done in the past that I didn't even get to touch on. So we've just kind of touched the surface of our conversation together. And hopefully next time we can dive deeper into this and many other things that you've done in your life so far. So thanks so much for coming on.
Thank you. God bless you. You guys have a great day.
All right.